Hello there. I am Edson, and today I'll be sharing with you some of the research that we do here at Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. As we all know, journalism across the world is under attack. Traditional news organizations continue to lose audiences and therefore revenues. There are some exceptions, of course, but this has mostly been the rule. It doesn't help that more and more politicians constantly attack the press, discrediting journalists, calling them names, sending them to jail, harassing them, and, in some cases, shutting down their newsrooms. It is also no surprise that some people are now getting their information from non traditional news sources. But what happens when they do? The COVID 19 pandemic has made information more important, and indeed, we see a bump in the number of those who access news on traditional sources compared with normal times when social media sources such as Facebook and WhatsApp would be the most used news sources. In this survey that we did in July 2020 here in Singapore, we find that Facebook still ranks high. It is the second most frequently used news source for COVID 19 information, but local news websites outperformed it slightly. Still, social media platforms are used by many to access news, where they can also see non news items such as photos of their friends, cat videos, photos of dogs and otters, and also a lot of fake news. This has important repercussions. In an earlier survey that we also did in Singapore, we found that higher frequency of using social media to access news is positively related to stronger belief in fake news. In contrast, the more often people access news from traditional news sources, the less likely they are to believe in fake news. Not only do fake news posts spread faster on social media, these platforms also are overloaded with real and fake information that sorting them out might be cognitively challenging and exhausting for some. Indeed, many studies have looked at the negative impact of information overload. That is something that we also looked at in a panel survey that we conducted earlier this year. We find that when people feel overloaded with information about COVID 19, the more they feel news fatigue, and the more likely they are to report experiencing difficulty in analyzing and sorting information. These all then lead some people to try to avoid COVID 19 related news. What is more worrying is that we also find that those who try to avoid the news are also more likely to believe in misinformation related to COVID 19. In another analysis, we also found that those who believe in COVID 19 misinformation, especially those about problematic and ineffective home remedies such as gargling with salt water as a form of protection against the coronavirus, they are more likely to engage in these scientifically unfounded and potentially dangerous behaviors. And here's where the problem lies. We see the important role of traditional news sources in disseminating accurate, important, and timely information, and yet some people get their news from non traditional sources where they are potentially exposed to misinformation that can affect their behavior. More research needs to be done to examine the mechanisms that underlie these processes, and I would love to discuss them with you if you have suggestions or comments for us. Please also take a look at some of the current projects that we are doing by looking at our Information Integrity Initiative or InCube website at blogs.ntu.edu.sg/in. Thank you very much and stay healthy.